Hey, good evening to all of you. My name is Jamel Tony.
Hey everyone, I'm Lakeisha and welcome to Progressively Becoming.
You loud? Ooh.
Whatever. Welcome to Progressively Becoming. Thank you guys for joining us for another conversation. As always, as you're getting on, make sure you like, comment, and share. And let somebody know PB is on now. We are in the building. And every Tuesday, right here at 7 p.m. sharp.
That's it.
Better for you?
That is better for me. Is it better for you?
Well, I would want to talk. I want to talk.
Fam, welcome to all of you that's watching us. Shout out to those watching us on Facebook, YouTube, and even on our website, www.progressivelybecoming.com. Do us a favor, like, comment, and share. Tag a friend, tag a family member, let them know the conversation is happening right now. Welcome to all of you that will be listening to this podcast once it drops. If you have not yet subscribed to our podcast, go ahead and do so following this conversation. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. If it has podcasts in it, you'll probably find us. Go ahead, open up your app store or your Play Store, search for that podcast application, search Progressively Becoming in the search bar, and go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. Welcome to all of you watching on YouTube as well. We don't want to forget about our YouTube family as well. The place of exchange. Good evening to all of you. Progressively Becoming what's happened. Let's get into the conversation.
And just real quick, while you all are going to Spotify and download, make sure you also download Relatable Mama. We had Tasha on last week talking about her new podcast that dropped last Wednesday. So every Wednesday, make sure you're checking out the Relatable Mama. So download that on Spotify. If you have a problem finding her on Spotify, go on Facebook under Relatable Mama, and she always has a link where you can tune in. Last week she did talk about identity crisis, so make sure you go take a listen. It was very good, very powerful.
That's it.
So I wanted to give a shout out to Tasha on her new podcast, Relatable Mama. Don't forget Thursday, 6 a.m. morning devotion where we pray with you, pray for you. We believe in the power of prayer. So make sure that you tag someone, tell someone, join someone, bring someone, and make sure that you're there.
Yeah.
At 6 a.m. Thursday morning.
Invite someone to pray with us.
Yes.
We started this morning devotions last year. And for some of us, and this will kind of lead into our conversation, for some of us, the morning devotion, waking up at 6 a.m. on Thursdays, may have been a discipline. But we've been doing it for almost a year now. And if I was to ask some of you that have, consistently been on it, you'll probably testify to the truth that it's no longer a discipline. It's become a way of life. It's become a lifestyle. And that's what we endeavor to do. So again, Thursday morning devotion, 6 a.m. God is good and greatly to be praised.
Absolutely. And this Friday, 15 at 6 will also be dropping, only available on our podcast. So make sure you check that out this Friday. What is the date?
I don't know. The Friday, the 20. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the 29th.
27th.
Okay.
The 27th, this Friday, the 27th, 15x6 will be dropping on all our podcast outlets. So make sure that you go take a listen. So we do that every month. Sunday Exchange, 9 a.m., Place of Exchange, Worship Center. Please, if you haven't told someone about it, please let someone know. Sunday Exchange will be happening this Sunday, 9 a.m. Why are you looking at me?
I'm watching you talk.
You intrigued by me?
No, just watching you talk.
Oh, Anywho.
Fam, since the new year came in, we have been exhaustively discussing setting goals. We have made a point of making sure we start out January 2023 with addressing how do we have goals, the importance of goals, and setting goals. Because in order for you to progressively become what God has intended for us, all of us to become, we have to stop just talking about things and put some action behind what we talk about.
Right.
We have deemed this year a year of action, where we want this year to be unlike years past. So it is important that we work progressively towards our goals, so we can progressively become the person in our character, our resources, our relationships, our vocation, and in our bodies. What steps have you taken this month so far towards your goals? We said the first step that we wanted many of you to take was to write down some of the goals that you have had. If you missed any of those conversations, any of those podcasts, go back, listen to it. We pray it adds some type of value to your life. Today's conversation is going to be a good one.
Absolutely. So that wasn't a rhetorical question, y'all. What steps have you made so far in any of the areas of your character, your resources, your vocation, your body, your relationships that you are gonna, work towards this year?
Absolutely.
What goals did you put down? Have you done?
Correct.
Carmen says 0. Have you done anything? And this is why we're gonna have this conversation tonight. A goal is the object of a person's ambition or effort, an aim, or a desired result. A goal is similar to an objective, but it's smaller and it's more specific. It also has a clear deadline and timeline. So for instance, if I say I'm going to lose 15 pounds, I'm going to lose it by June 30th of this year.
Okay.
The same thing if I'm going to go back to school. For the September term in this year, I'm going to go and enroll myself back in school. So you have to have a goal and have a hard deadline. Now, in order to meet the goal, you have to do the work. So we can't say, all right, by June 30th, I have my deadline, I'm going to lose weight, but I do nothing to have that happen.
Correct. Yeah, and as previously mentioned, that's the problem. Can somebody put that's the problem? It's what keeps us going in circles year after year, never fully achieving the goal that was set. We just don't do the work. And I know some of you are like, we talking about goals again? Yes,
Absolutely.
We're talking about goals again because it is so crucial and defining for your life. For you to become anything, you have to have a goal.
Right.
God had a goal for us. He had a plan for us. He executed that goal. How do we know? Because we're here. Right? So without execution, there can never be manifestation, but there can be never manifestation if there's no goal and there's no plan.
Right. Exactly.
1 + 1 = 2. 2 × 4 = 8. 8 × 8 = 64. We have to do something different, fam.
Right.
Because our lack of follow through has affected many of our lives.
Exactly. And a lot of times we want microwave results.
Yeah.
We want it to be done in an instant.
Absolutely.
And some of us honestly have just lacked the commitment to it because it may be hard or because it may take too long.
Sure.
But we, like Jamel just said, we have to do something different.
Because at some point in our lives, we have to admit to ourselves, see what it is, fam, we have to admit to ourselves that this is not working.
Right.
Yeah, and we must be able to make the necessary adjustments. What worked for others perhaps may not work for you. And we thought about this. We contemplated the conversations that we've had over the last few weeks that absolutely that if we are to be progressive in our approach to becoming, we have to leave behind what is normal and approach what many may consider unorthodox. So the title of this conversation, the title of this podcast for those that will be listening later on is Unorthodox.
Unorthodox.
Let's try a different approach because clearly this ain't working.
This ain't working. So as we continue this year, there are numerous ways to set and reach our goals. Yeah. There's a number of ways that we can set and reach our goals. Yeah. Some we have talked about on this show. I just don't like calling this a show.
Okay, conversation.
Yeah, on this conversation. So, if y'all remember the 4 P's, goals have to be positive, possible, personal, mm-hmm. and prioritize, which is also known as the SMART acronym. Yeah. Which means your goals should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be assignable, realistic, and time.
Spell it out. You got this. You got it.
I'm about to say time regulated.
You got it. You can do this. You can do this.
Related.
You can read.
Boy, bye.
Time related. It has to be specific,
got a little
right?
Twisted up.
It has to target a specific area of improvement. For example, your confidence, your weight loss, your education, your career advancement. It must be measurable. You got to measure, have you reached your goal? Is there an indicator of your progress that you've made so far? It has to be assignable, where you specify this is what I will do, and this is how I will do it. It has to be realistic, mm-hmm. right? My goal is not to, build the largest skyscraper by myself, because I can't do that by myself. It's not realistic. It's possible, but yet not possible for me. Mm-hmm. And it has to be time related. Have you given yourself a timeline for that goal to be completed? We talked about all of this.
Right.
We talked about this. We talked about how your goals must be fast.
And fast is frequently discussed. This is important. Sometimes the more you talk about it, the more it becomes real to you.
I agree.
So and I know for me, when something's going on or something's happening or in a goal, mm-hmm. if I have a goal, I have to constantly talk about it.
Yeah.
Keep it in my forefront, keep it in my memory, because it becomes real to me.
That's good, yeah.
And the more I say it, the more it becomes real. Yeah. So that is something.
I'm sorry, but that's powerful, because our words create.
Come on.
Our words help create our imaginations, and words have power. Words have power to it, mm-hmm. and the more you say it, the more you think about it, the more you focus on it, the odds of it happening becomes greatly increased in your life. So whatever your goal is, whatever you want to do in your life, let's detour for 10 seconds. Whatever your goal is, whatever you want to do in your life, think about it. Keep thinking about it. Say it out loud. Write it down. Imagine yourself doing that, and then do the necessary work to do so.
But Carmen, I think what you just said, Carmen said, I didn't plan a goal, but I'm working on getting my health back on track. And in my spiritual life, I wanted to do something meaningful, which is praying for others on the chat.
And we're going to talk about that. Yeah.
And I think that's if you don't want to classify it as a goal, but I think that's a goal.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're going to talk about that classification of goals also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's great, Carmen. Yeah. And you're making a step in doing something for this year. So applaud yourself for that.
That's good news. That's good. Yep. Fast goals, that has to be frequently discussed. It has to be ambitious. It has to be specific. Set a time frame, and it has to be transparent, where you are able to clearly, how can I say this? Relay your goals to other people. Right, you are able to clearly articulate your goals in a conscious manner, not only to yourself, but to somebody else as well. We touched on all of this.
Right, and I just want to say something about the area of being specific. So don't have your goals set in like general terms. For instance, that example that I used about like going back to school. Don't say I'm gonna go back to school by the end of the year, because that's too open-ended.
I agree.
And having that time frame is gonna allow something to happen that's gonna prevent you from doing what you said you're gonna do.
Because the end of the year could be December 31st.
Exactly. So I think when when you're specific, have a
Absolutely.
goal, have a date in
Correct.
mind on when you want it to start that, and make sure you go with that goal. Don't have it so broad, because life happens, things happen, and this is why a lot of times we didn't do our goals, because something happened, something prevented us,
True.
for whatever reason.
That's good.
But if we have a specific date in mind, we have a deadline. And we know that we have to meet that by the time that comes.
Good.
And not, oh, I'm going to do it by the end of the year.
Sure.
I just wanted to make mention to that. And then last week we did touch on goals in the context of being enlightening, which is greater knowledge and understanding about a subject or a situation. Encourage, giving support, confidence, or hope. And enable, giving someone or something the means to do something.
Yeah. Yep.
And there are so many ways to set goals. So many ways to achieve goals. And the point of it is, like, sometimes nothing happens.
Because there's so many ways.
Right.
Right? And because we don't know how to get started and how to stay committed,
That's the word.
we don't do it. It's too many acronyms. SMART and FAST and enlightening and empowered and time sensitive. It's too many things to remember. It's hard enough sticking to a goal. It's even harder getting started. So we want to pause for a moment. We want to pause for the cause. Everybody, let's take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. If you got COVID, don't breathe that out. I'm just saying. Right. Let's take a deep breath. Here it is. Let us take a step back and approach our goals in a progressive way.
It's gonna be good, y'all.
Progressive is to be forward thinking. We spoke about this last year. This may be difficult for us because our brains have been trained not to be. It's called tradition. And while tradition is fine and we need it, the goal of life and having an abundant one is to always build upon that tradition. The same way we did things, or rather the way we did things 20 years ago, is not the same way it should be done now. Now. Can somebody throw that in the comments? Now, this is different. And if we don't embrace that now is here, we may miss out on the wonderful things that life has for us. And we may miss out on becoming the persons that God has called us to be. Right? For many of us, we have to embrace the concept of being unorthodox.
Just embrace the concept of it.
Embrace the concept of being unorthodox. Can you put that in the chat? Unorthodox. What does that mean?
And it's contrary to what is usual. What's traditional. And or what's accepted. So unorthodox does not have to mean wrong. And a lot of times we associate that word with being wrong. Unorthodox is just, no, it's wrong. We don't do it. We just don't handle it that way. But it means something different. Albert Einstein said, insanity, and I know you've heard this all the time. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Yes, Bishop Watts.
I thought about Bishop when I saw that, because he used to say that all the time.
We hear you, sir.
Yes. When you do the same thing over and over, but you expect it to be different this time around. And we have said this, and yet we have still become victims of it.
We have become victims of insanity.
Exactly. And then the thing is how many times have we said things just have to be different? I can't keep going on this way.
This year gotta be different.
It's gotta be different.
I just can't do it no more.
And I can't keep doing the same thing over and over, putting up with the same mess.
Same crap.
And the
same
fact
drama.
that it doesn't change is because you have not been the change in the situation.
Could it be that we are the chess piece that hasn't moved to progress our way in life? Could it be us that we have been stuck so in tradition and what's normal and what is what is common to everybody, and have not embraced the concept of unorthodoxy? Jesus was unorthodox. Read his life. Nothing about Jesus was usual, accepted, and traditional.
Right.
Nothing about him. He spit in people's eyes. He told folks to get out of boats and walk on water. Nothing about him was traditional.
Yes.
He was unorthodox, yet he was impactful. Here it is. Why aren't we? So let's address the elephants in the room. And there are multiple pink elephants in the room, right? The elephant on the right side of the room is the elephant that has not started on their goals. They have it, yet they haven't started. There's another elephant on the back side of the room. This elephant started their goals, yet they stopped.
Right.
It became too hard. It's become too difficult. I'm over it. And then there's an elephant on the left side of the room. This pink elephant says, "To hell with goals. Why have a goal if we're never going to accomplish it anyway?" This elephant has no goals, doesn't want a goal. They think goals are unnecessary. Useless. So here it is. Let us take an unorthodox approach to goal setting and goal achieving. For my note takers, class is in session.
Wow, pink Jabba. That's shade, right? Maybe the elephant is a girl. So we have to create anti-goals. So a few years ago.
Yeah, put that in chat. Create anti-goals. Anti. Yes.
A-N-T-I goals. A-N-T-I goals.
Ooh, yeah. All right. Ooh.
A few years ago, Andrew Wilkinson, the co-founder of Tiny, was unhappy. Work was getting in the way of the life he wanted to live. His calendar was packed with meetings. He was doing business with people he didn't like, and he was addressed with the demands of his schedule. And in an attempt to regain control and make work feel less like work, he took a novel approach to turning things around. And that's where we get anti-goals. Wilkinson imagined his worst possible day. Meetings, travel, he was fatigued, worked backwards to set anti-goals. Rules for avoiding this worst case scenario. So, for instance, in response to his desire to leave behind a day full of long meetings, he set the following anti-goal. Never schedule in-person meeting when it can otherwise be accomplished via email, phone, or not at all.
Yeah. Anti-goals force us to ask the question. The question is, am I complicit in creating the conditions I say I don't want?
That's good.
This can be used in any area of our life where you are lacking completion of something or someone. Am I complicit in creating the conditions I say I don't want? This goal setting method, the anti-goal setting method, is a powerful alternative to regular setting goals, because you need to tie an anti-goal to an undesirable aspect of your life. What do I mean when I say that?
So, for instance, I don't want to spend this year so much on social media.
That's a goal.
That is going. For some of us, that should be a goal. I mean, because some of us spend way too much time on there. Like, I think for me, I've made it a point where I'm not so much on social media, like personal stuff. I mean, most of the time I used to go and actually be scrolling anyway. But anyway, so you tie this unpleasant aspect in your life to, I waste precious lifetime scrolling on social media. And the anti-goal is putting an app timer on your phone. So pretty much giving you a time limit.
Give it. Another example, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I want to be healthy this year, right? And we know we know proper sleep is key to being healthy. The unpleasant aspect is waking up tired. Nobody wants to wake up tired. The anti-goal is I'm going to go to bed. I'm not going to go to bed after 10 p.m. Right? You see, anti-goals gives us the opportunity to reflect on the life we do not want in order to forge one we do. Anti-goals.
Right.
I'm not against the goal, yet I'm going to target what is undesirable
About to go.
about us achieving that goal, and that's the target. Anti-goals.
So create anti-goals.
Yeah.
The next one is set micro goals. Even goals that are specific, measurable, and achievable when you set them can feel out of reach in practice.
Correct.
However, while you might have the time, desire, and wherewithal to run a 5K, the goal feels entirely overwhelming when you literally can't even walk up the stairs without huffing and puffing. But what if the goal was just to walk 1,000 steps a day?
Yeah.
Meaning outside of your normal activity.
Correct,
So
yes.
like you purposely are gonna set time aside to I'm gonna just walk 1,000 steps and actually move with it, not like step in place. I think that helps. So this is the strategy behind setting micro goals. Rather than set a big sweeping goal as running that marathon, you just set something smaller
Small.
where you can take it each day to accomplish what you ultimately want. And we do mean small.
Small
So your
goals.
micro goal should take under 10 minutes to complete. Better if you could get it down to 5
Correct.
minutes. And then do it every single day. And that's it. So you got to start with a micro goal.
Micro. For example, the big goal is to get in shape. The micro goal is to just walk 10 minutes each day.
Right. And the big goal, another example with a big goal is to save for a house. The micro goal is to transfer $10, $15 every day to your savings account.
Correct. Yeah. The big goal is I want to read more this year. The micro goal is you just read 5 minutes each day before bed. Because micro goals create activation energy. It does. Micro goals create energy. The challenge of big goals is knowing where to start. On the other hand, it's abundantly clear what you need to do in order to accomplish your micro goals each day. You may want to buy a house. That's the big goal. You may become frustrated. How do I start? Where do I go? Like, you know, I got, no. Set a micro goal.
Right.
I know I got to get my finances in order,
Right.
right? So I'm going to save $10 to $15 every day. I'm going to put that in my savings. Now, $10 to $15 every day in your savings, is that going to be enough money for a down payment in a year? Probably not. But what it's doing is that micro goal is helping you build a habit.
Yes.
Can somebody say habits?
Habit.
Yeah. Completing a task day in and day out will eventually help you build a habit. And by doing so, you won't have to rely on motivation to drive you towards what you want to achieve.
Right.
The power of a habit is this. It does not take willpower to accomplish it. It is the same like discipline. The goal of discipline is for it to no longer feel like discipline, for the discipline to become a lifestyle.
Right.
And when you build micro goals, you develop habits.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I remember like years ago when I first was diagnosed with high blood pressure, and I was in my 20s, and it just happened because of a pregnancy, and it never went away. But I was the type of person, as tradition, as we mentioned before, my family, we add salt to the food even before we tried it. We didn't even know if you, and even some of my family still now, I know they can say that, testify to that because they're listening. They still add salt to the food before you even taste it. And it's like, for me, that was just a habit. Just add salt before we even eat the food, and that's how we ate it. But once that became an issue for me and I wanted to get healthier, I had to create a different habit where I had to stop adding salt to the food. I had to lower my sodium intake. So what I was used to eating as far as salt and, Lowry's, I had to start with Mrs. Dash. I don't even know if that's still a seasoning now.
I think so.
But the taste of it wasn't that great. But I know for me, for my health, I had to do something different than salt. But eventually, it started tasting good to me.
Yeah.
It's because my taste buds got used to it. And now, I don't use salt. I don't add salt. And even when I taste salt that someone else added to something that I get, it's very nasty to me.
Gotcha.
So I can't even eat like that. So it became a habit for me where I had to change the way that I was used to eating with adding all these different types of seasonings. So now it's like nothing to me. And it's like with like Jamel and my kids, I didn't have them grow up eating like that or have him come and eating like that. We didn't add salt to the food. And I'll never forget that time. Remember, I did French fries and I did add salt. And then you and the Ties was like, what did you do to the fries? Like, and it was salty to them because they were not used to eating like that.
You had to develop a new habit.
Exactly.
And new habits take time.
Exactly.
New habits take time.
And it was work, and it was hard because I was used to a certain taste, a certain profile, and then to cut out all of that to go to something to me that was very bland. Yeah. But it works. Like even for me with like tea, I don't like sweet tea. I can have tea without sugar. Yeah. But that's a taste that I had to get accustomed to. Yeah,
it's all about developing new habits and breaking old habits. On Thursday, I want us to talk about habits, and I want us to play on that. So Thursday morning devotions, habits. Another unorthodox way of goal setting and goal achieving is to set an annual theme, right? So every year, I try to set an annual theme for myself, right? It is not action or target specific. For example, my personal theme for this year is boundaries and balance, right? You have to set an annual theme for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And for me this year, my theme is peace. And I've learned it. I just need peace. I want peace, and in order for me to have peace, I must extend grace to some that don't deserve it. Because I'm just gonna leave it at that. Because sometimes I'll be wanting to kick folk in their neck, punch them in their throat. I do. We all have feelings. We all, have that side. But I extend grace to people that just don't deserve it. And I'm learning because I just need peace. Yeah. I'm not in for all that extra stuff.
Yeah, which is what Jesus did for us, right? We don't deserve it, and he extended grace. So when you set an annual theme, right? And this is an unorthodox way of setting setting a goal. Set an annual theme. This method of setting an annual theme, it helps us stay focused on the entire year, and it helps you filter each of your actions in life and in work through the lens of your theme. For example, if you ended last year in a state of burnout, you were stressed. Perhaps this year needs to be the year of rest, right? If your relationship last year with your significant other was in the rut, it was dry, the moon went down and the honey dried up, perhaps label this year the year of passion, right? By setting a theme for each year, you can change the narrative of your life and write a better story each and every day. This is my year of rest. This is my year of independence. This is my year of fun. This is my year of encouragement. This is my year of learning. This is my year of focus.
And with this theme, you align your behaviors.
Correct.
So, like what you said, your theme is what? Boundaries
Boundaries and balance, right? I set this thing for myself because I saw how the lack of boundaries and balance impacted my life greatly last year. The more God gives us to manage, the more I need to set boundaries and balance. Because boundaries, without boundaries, there could be no balance, right? But with boundaries comes balance. I didn't know this was an issue.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know this. What do we people say?
I'm laughing at Fabisha's comment. I'm sorry. That just took me all the way out. She said I want to bust people's heads to the white people.
Well, we don't want to do that, right?
And they call about, nay, you know you wrong. Somebody do it, Kamisha. Now that's peace.
That's not peace, okay? What would Jesus do?
What would
All right,
Jesus
what
do?
would Jesus
I'm
do?
trying to remember that
Right?
now.
What would Jesus do? All right, for y'all, this year needs to be the year of peace, right?
Peace,
it needs,
y'all, peace.
And for some of us, that means removing ourselves from certain situations or not allowing our eyes to see certain things because you.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what irks you, what kicks you off, you know what gets under your skin. So my whole thing is just put yourself in a position where that doesn't affect you and impact you as God continues to work on you so that you can be able to handle it.
Yes.
Right? For
Work
example,
on me,
Israel comes out of Egypt. They make the exodus out of Egypt. They was on a way to the promised land. It should have taken them a very short time to get there. Yet instead, God says, I'm going to take them this way because if they go this way, they will encounter war. And they are not ready for war, so I have to take them around the way. Right? So until God develops you, he'll take you around the way. But in the meantime, avoidance. Somebody avoidance. Maintain your peace. Peace is intentional.
Yeah, Carmen, we're gonna use this as the year of what would Jesus do.
Yeah, the year of what
I'm telling you, like sometimes I hear that in my head because Jamal, he says that a lot. Well, what would Jesus do?
Correct.
So before I fly off the handle.
Because of we're all striving to be like him.
And
I think
we
at
are.
some point we have to intentionally make a choice to do what he did.
Right.
And that's tough.
It's tough.
Trust me, it's tough.
It's
But
tough, y'all. It's tough.
It's growing pains. It really is. It's painful, but it's growth. So yeah.
And I'm patting myself on the back for
Yeah,
my growth.
yeah.
Because you got to do that. And also, you have to change your environment.
Correct.
So our behaviors are dictated by our environments more than we notice or more than we realize. If you're failing to reach your goals over and over,
That's good.
it could be your setting that keeps you stumble. So your
Absolutely.
setting, your environment can be a stumbling block.
Correct.
So it could be your setting. Again, it can be your setting. So this goal blocker could be the main issue for some of us. And while we look for everything else, could it be that what the issue has been staring us in the face
Correct.
the whole time? So when we say environment, change your environment. We're
Yeah.
just not referring to leaving one place to go to something else.
Absolutely correct.
We
Correct.
rather change it. If you're trying to lose weight, change the environment by removing junk food.
Correct.
And that may be hard, but that's what you have to do.
Change your environment. Yeah.
Like me, I'm a snacker. I like, junk food. I like chips and cookies and candy. So it's like when I know I need to tame that down, I don't buy it. I take it out the house because
You have to change your environment.
ice cream, that kind of stuff. I'm a snacker, so
Because your environment has great influence over you. And until you develop the sense of discipline, you know that you have to intentionally remove things out of your life, right? For example, you have to change your set of friends. You have to change your social environment. If you have an issue, let's just say and this is no joking matter, if you have an issue, let's just say with alcohol abuse, right? You have to find a new social group, right? You have to change your environment. You may have to change environments that cause you stress, that makes you want to drink, right? That makes you want to act out. That perhaps makes you want to think a drink will take your mind off of it, when it really doesn't. It just puts you momentarily in a state where you don't feel it until that state wears off and you have to deal with it again. And that's how alcoholism starts. It's the repeated cycle of numbness, and I don't want to feel this, and I don't want to experience this, but then the high comes down and it's staring at you in the face, right? So in order for us to change that cycle, we have to change our environment. And you have to ask yourself the question, what is it around me? People, things, places, what is it around me that is negative for the goal that I have set for my life? And this year, some of us have to make the conscious decision and effort and ask God for help to say, I have to change what I see, what I feel, and what I experience. I say it again, peace is intentional.
It's intentional.
You don't wait for it. You go get it. You don't pray for it. You pray God help to make the change in your environment. And you have to make the change. God will not do for you what you can do for yourself. If you want peace, make the change. Change your environment. And that's how we set goals. All of this, and we got to go, all of this is unorthodox.
Right.
It's unorthodox. But it's necessary for us to set our goals this year and achieve our goals. Yeah.
And I know we've been talking about this for the whole month, but we are really we think this is very, very important because like we've said previously, we don't want to be at the end of the year and coming into, if we're, God lets us live to be next year, where 2024 comes in, and then we look back at 2023 and be like, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do this year. When I said that in 2023 and I've accomplished nothing. So we want to definitely put into action and make moves this year to become a better person.
Because if you don't, can I say this? And this may sound harsh, but you need to hear truth. If you don't, that is on you.
That's on you.
Not them, not it, not the job, not the system. That's on you. You control what's happening to you and around you. Take responsibility for you. That's on you. So we can't get mad at nobody else but ourselves because we did not do what was necessary. And you know what happens? A year goes later, a year goes later, a year goes later, a year goes later, and then we in our 50s, and then a year goes later, and a year goes later, a year goes later, and then we in our 60s, and then a year goes later, generations pass, and then we in our 70s, and before we know it, we in our 80s, and we look back and we like, man, I'm in the same environment I was in when I was 20 because I didn't make the necessary change. That's on you.
And my just advice from what we discussed today, start with the micro goals.
Micro goals.
That's something that we all can do, and it should be achievable. A micro goal. Whatever that goal is, just shrink it and start doing that every day. Yeah. And then you'll see that once you start that discipline, it will eventually become your lifestyle.
And it will be goal setting and achieving and maintaining and accomplishing is difficult. Trust me, it's hard. It's difficult. It's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be difficult. I know somebody, I will not say their name, but when I say this, they know who I'm talking about. This person made a decision to go down, to go low, to come back up. And now this person is in a situation where she can change her entire trajectory of their life because she made a decision that sometimes in order for me to go up, I must go down first. And that's what they did. They put in the time, the discipline, and the energy
Absolutely.
to accomplish it. And now they are experiencing growth. And it did not take them 5 years to get there. Can you experience a season of pain, a season of discomfort, for perhaps a lifetime of peace, happiness, and joy? It's only a season.
Absolutely.
Thursday, 6 a.m. I wanted to pray about habit breaking. Because if we don't break habits, we can't become it. We will never achieve our goals. Habit, particularly strongholds, that has kept us enslaved and in bondage, and we have to break emotional attachments that no longer are beneficial for the place that God has us.
Change is hard for people, but I think it's like you have to put your mind to do it. Yeah. It's like some people are just rooted in just the norm and tradition, and change is hard because change requires work. And
but tradition hasn't worked.
And naturally, some people just don't like. It's uncomfortable to change.
Tradition hasn't worked. I don't want nothing about Jamela and Keisha to be traditional. Right. I don't want nothing about progressively, and we're going. I don't want nothing about progressively becoming to be traditional. I don't want nothing about the place of exchange to be traditional. We build upon that tradition and that foundation. But if God is moving, if He's progressive, then we have to also.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
We have to also. We're in 2023, fam.
And we are well on our way.
Yeah.
We are well on our way. Thank y'all for joining us for this
if all hearts and minds are clear.
For this conversation. It was great. We will see you Thursday, 6 to 8 a.m. You guys have a blessed night. We love y'all. Take care.
Take care.